Video Killed the Radio Star presents the music videos of Peter Gabriel. In this episode, author Spencer Bright and directors Brian Grant and Kevin Godley discuss their various collaborations with the genius who is Peter Gabriel.
Peter sees himself still really as a visual artist trying to express himself through music.
Climbing up on Salisbury Hill.
He had a vision which he wanted to pursue. I suppose he wanted to get away from the sort of rather introverted Genesis style.
Eagle flew out of the
At the end of those days, in around 74, he was getting very frustrated.
Came in close, I heard a voice.
And yeah, the lyrics to that song in Salisbury Hill include lines like, I wanted to get away from the machinery. He's referring to the life in Genesis.
I was feeling part of the scenery. I walked right out of the machinery.
And by the end of it, he got so frustrated, he just pretty much handed in his notice. He wanted to be an artist who expressed himself in whatever way he chose.
I'd made a music video called My Name is Norman Bates, I'm Just a Normal Guy for a band called Landscape, and Peter saw it.
Cover me when I run. Cover me through the
So I met Peter and he described Shot the Monkey as a love song that examines how jealousy can release your basic instincts.
The monkey that's been shot is that jealous instinct in us.
The man in the suit represents a businessman under sort of increasing pressure. So the man in the white room is clearly the same persona. He sort of represents the businessman's inner voice, or his conscience, if you will.
It's quite a disturbing video, but it's quite a disturbing song.
And the makeup Peter's wearing was copied from a tribe in West Africa. It sort of denotes someone's status in that society. And then you see Peter running through what is actually Epping Forest, and at a certain point he ends up in a pond. And we asked him to go out into the middle of it. It was full of shit and crap and God knows what else, and put his head down under the water and rise up out of it. And he did it 3 times without any hesitation. Peter's just a brilliant collaborator. The businessman with the buildings flashing around behind him is about being lost and about being out of control.
And the ceiling coming down, which was, was all about, his world falling about around him, was also a bit scary, as this heavy piece of the set had to be lowered down by hand and could have actually crushed him. But again, he didn't flinch. He just got in there and got on with it.
The way Peter writes is very abstract. His narratives are not obvious, so they're perfect for making music videos for, because you're in the business of interpretation.
Peter exploring those inner demons, which kind of is a bit of a theme throughout a lot of his music.
You begin to realise that the actions of the man in white are beginning to influence the businessman.
The video came out in the early 80s, and it was instrumental in helping break Peter. It was the first single of his to reach the top 30 in America.
When he lifts his face from the table, we see he has the same markings as the man in white. His conscience has shot the monkey to life. So it's sort of about listening to your inner voice and not losing your own instincts.
Shut the monkey. Shut the monkey.
We had, I think, about 3 weeks of prep time to make models, work out how the hell we're going to do it. They came down to Bristol.
My impression of Stephen Johnson, the director of Sledgehammer, was of a very modest guy. He lacked confidence initially. In fact, the day before the filming, he said, "I don't think I can do this." So Peter said at some points I was in agony. For the train sequence, which lasts 10 seconds, I had to be in the same position for 6 hours. The track had to be built up a little bit each time, and the smoke had to be moved around as the train moved along.
You could have an aeroplane flying if you bring your blue sky back.
They teamed up with Aardman Productions and the brothers Quay, who were animation specialists, and stop-start motion. The rest is history.
You could have a big dipper.
So he and Stephen Johnson had very roughly worked out the storyboard on this thing. It needed quite a lot of tidying up.
You could have a bumper car.
And we started on, I don't know, like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock one Monday morning, and we finished it, I think, about 3 o'clock the following Sunday.
I wanna be the sledgehammer. Why don't you call my name?
Breaking through the ice was the original inspiration from apparently a Nietzsche quote. It's actually a very sexual song, and there are all sorts of very naughty references in it. Trains on tracks and fruit cakes, and you can take your own references and you work out exactly what he's getting at, but it's kind of very playful.
As sweet as can be. I wanna be your sledgehammer.
We had a number of setups in the old studio at Weatherall Place. We had a camera rostrum type setup. We had another camera setup for Peter, the main shot of Peter Gabriel, where he's kind of in a chair and a lot of stuff happens around him. We had a little setup for the chicken scene. And another setup for Pete, Peter Lord, who was actually animating the clay section, the animating classic sort of, colourful psychedelic stuff. So there are 3 or 4 small sets running simultaneously. And then the main set was with Peter Gabriel himself.
When he was at school, Peter went to see Otis Redding perform, and he still says that was the greatest concert he ever saw. So he's always had a love for soul music, and that's very evident in Sledgehammer.
This is the new stuff.
Gabriel actually is a very talented guy, and he has incredibly visual imagination.
Show for me. Show for me.
It's a visual feast. Nothing like that had really been seen before, I think. It captured the imagination of the public all around the world. And in fact, won 9 MTV Video Awards, which hasn't been bettered. It really changed Peter's fortunes and launched him and made him a superstar, really. With Steam, he went back to the sexual themes of Sledgehammer, and there's a lot of playfulness there. But it's also about a man and a woman's relationship. It's not just about the act.
Stand back. Stand back.
And he's making fun of men. There's the opening of the video has him dressed up as a pimp in kind of purple suit and hat, coming out of ridiculously long stretched limo with a beautiful woman on his arm.
Picking up this heat. This heat. Give me steam.
After the claymation of Sledgehammer, he went back to the same director of Sledgehammer, Stephen Johnson, and this time they were using the new digital technology that was starting to mature.
You know your culture from your trash. You know your plastic from your cash. When on the side of the track, you know the way back.
And there's also a sequence of him like a muscle man, which was actually a rubber suit of a kind of muscle Chippendale kind of guy that was built for him and that he wore, and he in fact used that in live performance as well. So it's all really playful stuff.
I know you. Give me steam. And how you feel can make it real. Real as
Peter was very clever in his use of animation in his videos. They're kind of analogous and they're not that obvious because of the rich imagery that he was using through animation.
stand back. Stand back.
At one point in the video, he's with a bunch of beautiful women who are dressed in towels in a steam room, sitting on a bench, and at one point they slide into him, at another point he slides into them. And it's very playful, but there's also a lot of commentary within that video about relationships, about men using women and maybe women using men.
Give me steam. And how you feel can make it real. Real as anything you've seen. Get alive with the dreamer's dream. You know you're green from your red.
There was quite a lot of discussion during the making of the video about not wanting to appear, if you like, sexist.
So much better than the rest. You think you'd be blessed, but I know you. You know your letter from your snake.
I remember as a schoolboy, it was very thrilling to get one of those pens, striptease pens, and you turned it upside down and the woman's clothes suddenly disappeared. So after the pen is turned back on the woman, then it happens to him. So he, if you like, becomes a victim.
Give me steam. And how you feel can make it real. Real as any place you.
Peter was ahead of his time with technology. He always knew what the latest techniques were and always wanted to use them in a creative way. They were a way of using that amazing imagination.
Bag slap, booby trap, cover it up in bubble wrap. Room shake, earthquake, find a way to stay away. It's gonna blow, it's gonna break. This is more than I can take.
The way Peter's brain works, whether it's through music, seeking inspiration from Africa or world music or wherever, or whether it's visually seeking out innovators, as he did with Stephen Johnson.
Around me, help me out.
Johnson, he was an amazing innovator, an incredibly talented guy who probably didn't get the recognition he deserved. Sadly, he's no longer with us. Don't Give Up works as a song because of its simplicity, and the video works brilliantly also because of its simplicity. Simply having those characters rotate in the way they do and just holding each other, and not an awful lot else happens in that video.
In this proud land we grew up strong. We were wanted all along. I was taught to fight, taught to win. I never thought I could fail.
It was a very moving shoot in that essentially it was just the two of them hanging on to each other for grim death, singing. And that was the heart of the film.
But no one wants you when you lose. Don't give up, 'cause you have friends.
The song kind of got a country feel to it, and Peter did originally apparently want Dolly Parton to sing with him, and apparently she said no because the song's subject originally was inspired by the Great Depression.
Don't give up, I know you can make it good. Though I saw it all around, never thought that I could be a faintant.
We built the Eclipse from scratch. We took little bits of stock footage of sunspots and some storms, and we actually created the eclipse ourselves using a wipe. If one was to do it again today, we'd probably junk the eclipse and suggest the eclipse using light. You didn't need all that crap going on in the background.
Don't give up, you still have us. Don't give up, we don't need much of anything.
And he'd already worked with Kate Bush, and she'd become a friend, so he decided to invite Kate to sing with him. Of course, she does it magnificently. Her voice is perfect for it.
Rest your head, you worry too much. It's gonna be alright.
Whereas the thing you really watch, and you really should watch, was their incredible performance.
On us, don't give up. Please don't give up.
A good tip for any young director to learn from this video is that when you've got talent of this caliber in front of your camera, you don't need to do very much. In fact, the less you do, the better.
Gonna stand on that bridge, keep my eyes down below. Whatever may come, and whatever may go, that river's flow.
Some major artists have mentioned that Peter's song Don't Give Up was pivotal in helping them through depression. Elton John has cited it as a song that pretty much saved his life. When I was interviewing Peter over the book, he mentioned to me that Robin Williams had said to him that similarly, obviously in an earlier part of his life, that song was a great comfort to him.
Don't give up, 'cause you have friends. Don't give up, you're not the only one.
I remember one thing that happened, as you quite rightly say, it's one shot, and the take that we used, as we're pulling back at the very end, they're still lip syncing, but the battery on the camera was running down, so it lost speed, and therefore the sync went. And I think probably at least 3 or 4 hours of our editing session was to try and pull that back in sync, because we couldn't cut away to anything. We hadn't shot anything to cut away to.
Don't give up, you know it's never been easy. Don't give up, 'cause I believe
But their performance is brilliant. It's a superb performance. I think that's why it's stood up.
there's a place where we belong.
wasn't just the videos that were groundbreaking, his live performances also were stretching the limits of what people normally would see at a concert.
You don't have to do what your mother has done, she has done. This is your life, this new life has begun.
Shaking the Tree actually addresses the situation for African women and Senegalese women needing to, if you like, liberate themselves from those male-dominated societies. Peter, probably more than any other modern recording artist, opened our ears to different cultures.
Peter's the consummate artist, a true visionary and a humanitarian with a unique worldview.
And we should never forget, though, that at the heart of all this, Peter is a great songwriter, great musician, great singer. He's created some amazing songs that will stand the test of time. Peter has actually been recognised by the Nobel Committee. He's got a Nobel Peace Laureate.
The book of love is long and boring. No one can lift a damn thing. It's full of charts and facts and figures and instructions for dancing. But I love it when you read to me, and you can read me anything, and I